Up next, we have Ranran Hugh.
Um, can you hear me okay? Okay, thanks. Um, Hi friends, good afternoon. I'm really happy to see all of you, my mentor, my friends, the MCAD faculty, MFA classmates, and all the people I loved. Thank you for taking the time to spend this special 10 minutes with me. I know some of you are probably wondering what you're going to eat for dinner, and so am I. So, first of all, who am I? As you all can see, I'm a little bit of a crazy person. At least I'm not afraid of changing my hair as well as art. My name is Ranran. In Chinese, my name is often used to describe the sun rising. But please don't call me sunrise. That's really rude. Today, I would like to use this place as a platform where I can feel safe and introduce myself and my work to you. About my background, I'm from a small town in southern China, and I'm used to do the constant traveling to the next place as I've moved around China with my parents, from the central plains to the southern water towns. I think that's also why I chose to go abroad for grad school as soon as I graduated from college. I get this adventurous spirit from my parents. Um, my art practice began with writing, and I have enjoyed writing short stories and poetry since I was a teenager. To this day, writing reminds me an important way for me to create art. In my junior year in middle school, I studied still life drawing, so it was natural that I chose fine arts as my major in high school. I studied traditional bust drawing and gouache painting. I finished my BFA in digital media arts in China, specializing in design, 2D animation, and interactive installations. However, I found that I can never love the same thing for long. There is a proverb that says, the grass is always greener on the other side. I think it perfectly describes my situation. A small summary. Upon entering the MFA program, I met the best mentor and peer friendships here. My friends and I often had small critique sessions in the kitchen in the MFA building or in each other's studios that often lasted 2 or 3 hours some days. And in this atmosphere of encouraging art, over the period of a year and a half, I made 11 handmade photo books and zines, 10 digital illustrations, 4 mixed media paintings, and 3 pieces of typography work. This part is mainly for my parents to prove that I'm not wasting their money in another country. Creative method and subject matter. Initially, I decided to only focus on photography in the MFA program, but I was introduced to abstract painting by Sarah Weben in the summer of 2025. I'm currently exploring works that combine multiple media. I currently use psychogeography as a methodology to create photographs and paintings related to the reconstructive and materiality of memory. My primary media are photo books and abstract paintings. So, what is psychogeography? The term psychogeography was coined by Marxist theorist Guy Debord in 1955. I would like to quote a writer and a psychogeographer, Wilfred Houellebecq's definition of psychogeography. Psychogeography is the fact that you have an opinion about a space the moment you step into it. I only encountered the term psychogeography in grad school, but looking back, I realized it resonates with my position in the family structure. I was the second oldest in my family, and my sister was 5 years older than me. My younger brothers always played in pairs, and my parents were busy earning money to support the family, so a lot of times I had to play alone. This shaped my childhood habit of roaming around the streets of Shanghai. So to this day, walking and observing the world has become my way of connecting to the world with the movement of my body. Let's go for a walk. From February 2025, I did 3 walking practices of about 1 hour, 3 hours, and 5 hours in Minneapolis. After these 3 walking practices, which were a navigated walk from home to the Minnesota Center for Book Arts, the second was a mapless navigated walk from home along the sidewalks, and ultimately the city planned path that led me to the road next to the Mississippi River. And the third walk was an intentional walk from home to the Minneapolis International Airport. Based on this last long-distance walking practice, I created a walking from home to the airport for my midterm review. I would like to highlight for you the parts of this work that embody the overlap of psychogeography and the materiality of memory. So for the first 3 photographs in this work, I created 3 small pockets to hold the stories I wrote about my youth, my mom, and my dad, which are evoked by these 3 photographs. The family-owned grocery store in the first photo reminds me of the cigarette and liquor store my mom owned in my hometown. The frozen water bottle in the snow in the second photo reminds me that when I was still in college in China, my mom made me dumplings to take to my school 300 kilometers, which is about 186 miles, away at the end of the May Day holiday. However, it took a while to bring them to the college in another city. It took a 3-hour high-speed train ride, and my mom put a bottle of frozen water in it in case the dumplings would melt and spill on the train. The third chapter photo is of a Buddha statue sculpted in the yard of a house, reminding me of memories about the Buddha statue in my father's car since I was 9 years old. The reconstructive and the materiality of memory. I would like to illustrate my subject matter about memory with a very small example from the past. So when I was a kid, the second floor of my mom's hotel had an old carpet on which I would skate around on roller skates. Years later, in the middle of a Minnesota winter, the familiar motions of my first snow skating session reminded me instantly of my childhood roller skating experience. Then I realized that memory is not a linear thing. A familiar scene or action will evoke an old memory, and then the old memory combines with the new memory to become a third memory that stays in the brain. I applied the process of memory processing in my paintings, such as rock. I use the photos I take while walking as the initial reference for my paintings, but I gradually get rid of the narrative in the photos during the painting process. I use water, oil paints, and acrylics, initially depicting the shapes of the objects with the oil paints, and then, after 3 months, repainting the canvas with a new layer of water and acrylics, which, due to the repulsive nature of the oil paints and the water, leaves the first layer of the pattern on the canvas forever. Let them float, glide, and settle on the canvas. The repeated layering and the covering of the paint is like the renewal of a memory. The old paint is covered by the new, the shape changes, but it is still part of the painting. When it comes to my material, I would like to introduce more of what I use in my art. I work between photography, painting, and bookmaking. I'm also constantly incorporating new techniques to explore, such as paper making, paper modeling, screen printing, and lithography. For photography, I use the Polaroid, mirrorless, and DSLR cameras, large and medium format cameras. For painting, I use mixed media, working on notebook, paper, canvas with my pens or materials from real life. For bookmaking, I use straight needle, waxed thread, knife, cutting board, PVA, and Yoo-hoo glue, and book press. Getting outside of the studio in the MFA building is also important for me because I believe art has a strong connection with life. So in my free time, I like to make paper from plants in the papermaking studio, attend workshops in MCBA, do research in the MIA print study room. I also like to go hiking, swing dance. Lastly, I want to share 3 of my favorite artists with you. The first artist is Huma de Klint. She is a Swedish painter. She is best known for her many abstract paintings for a mystical women's religious group she wanted to start in the future. I have chosen two of her works, Youth and Dove. From her, I learned the attitude of unconditionally being true to your own creative process. The second artist is Francis Alice. He is a Belgian-born, Mexico-based artist. His work across art, architecture, and social practice. He's also a multimedia artist working in painting, film, and performance. He considers walking to be at the core of his work. The last artist is John Baldessari. I read his book Brutus Killed Caesar in the artist book collection at the MCAD library last year. His artistic practice has broadened my definition of what it means to be a photographer, and the diversity of his mediums has made me realize that the boundaries of mediums are flexible, and the humor can coexist with serious issues, which has directly inspired me to create photo books such as not an exit, but can be an exit. So my work is still full of uncertainties, and I think that uncertainty is where imagination lives. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. I also want to say special thanks to these people, MFA faculty, Gabriel Mindel, Sarah Peterson, and my very close friends in MFA program, Catherine Molini and Graciela Dianda, and my best mentor, Leslie Grant. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ranran. We have time for a couple of questions. Are there any questions that people have? Shimon.
I saw you do many like photos or photographs and also some like fine paintings and some books and mixed materials artwork. I'm thinking which part you feel really excited to like working or and do you want to mix those materials in one project? Like,
Well, I do think I want to combine painting and photograph, even bookmaking together in the future. But I feel like for me, right now, the most important thing is figure out what do I want to do in my project instead of thinking about the form. So that will be the thing I consider next, not the most important part in my art practice.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So I have a question about some books that you inspire from the process that you make books. Are there any books that you would think that you would use for your next following project, or you've been looking at recently?
I'm reading some fantasy novels recently. I was influenced mostly by writer, but I introduced the three artists here because I feel like they're more related to my personal like art practice. But I really like reading and enjoy fantasy short stories. And I think there is a writer. Oh, I'm reading Wolf recently, actually.
Great. Thank you, Ranran. We have time for one more question if there's anyone in the audience that has one to offer Ranran. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Please give a round of applause for Ranran.